Hi, guys. Welcome to the show. It's Joseph Earl McPeek. Allow me a minute, a second. Thank you, Jesus, for giving us another day. It's just as beautiful, or if not more beautiful, than the day before. And Jesus' strength. And I got some really good news for you, everybody that's in music. It doesn't matter if you're a musician, a producer, an engineer, anything. Just promise me one thing. Get rid of your Pro Tools. Pro Tools don't do it right. You know why? I'll just say simply from the top, everything Pro Tools does is a PCM wave format. Therefore, everything that it records is stored to hard drive, right? As a wave file, right? Or AIF on a Mac. It doesn't matter. It's still stored to a hard drive. And when you store music to a hard drive, that is unlike how music is stored to tape. Because there's quantization involved, and that means cutting the waveform into little slices. Now, the gold standard for digital has been Robert Nyquist. The golden standard for analog has been Robert Neve. Rupert Neve. Or is it pronounced Nev? I don't know. The way that Rupert Neve makes good music is by preserving, excuse me, preserving the transient. How does that happen? Well, his electronic circuit that he designed, when the transformer ramps up, it creates a shield around the first 25 milliseconds of the transient, which makes it stand taller. It makes it, the transient automatically stands taller. So it's like a boot stiffener. So Robert Neve created a circuit that's like a boot stiffener. It goes like this, but it has to use all that power to ramp that up. The Rupert Neve era was the analog era to to tape and vinyl, okay? Nobody could do anything without a Rupert Neve circuit. It became the gold standard of analog. Now comes Pro Tools. Robert Nyquist is the gold standard of digital. That's chopping up the sample into 44,100 slices per second, okay? That's not what Rupert Neve needed to do. No, that's what Nyquist did. He created the gold standard of slicing that sample up. Why? Because sound is discrete in an analog circuit, but it is not discrete in a digital realm. In a digital realm, it needs to be cut up into, like, if it was a curve, now you have to put dots on that curve. Okay? When you record into Pro Tools, it puts dots all over the music. It chops it up into 44,000 slices per second. But that's not the problem. The problem is when you bounce it. The problem is when you mix sample rates. The problem is in your timing, in your drift, in your smear, in your What you think is every day is okay. Look at it this way: Rupert Neve wrapped the transient in a beautiful gold sarcophagus. So if the music was a mummy, he knows how to wrap it for the afterlife, because music can live forever, but it's hard. You can't touch it. You can't touch it, and that's what Pro Tools does. Is it touches it too much. It takes the music, which needs to go to the afterlife. That's the bounce, and it needs to be protected along the way, and it needs to be wrapped in a gold sarcophagus. Okay, in Pro Tools, that gold sarcophagus is now the Nyquist 44.1. That's the gold standard for digital. Okay, that's the mummy wrap. Problem is when you bounce it and mix it with multi-tracks and multi-plugins and multi-this and compressors and EQs and blah, 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 blah. Sub-mixes, sub-channels, sub-this, sub-that. Samples, different rates, different bit depths, different this, different that, 150 different plugins on each track. You know what the music turns into? A melted, like a shrinky dink, in fact. Remember shrinky dinks? You put them in the oven and they come out all plasticky and kind of like moldy. Well, that's what's happening with Pro Tools. Its incoming signal is fine, but that's not what Pro Tools is about. Pro Tools ain't about an incoming signal. No, Pro Tools is about an outgoing signal, and it's ass. Once you get to mixing and putting plugins and all that shit, your computer slows down. Pretty soon you're working with 250 milliseconds of delay. And when that happens, you destroy the first 25 milliseconds of that transient. What can I say? You screwed up. Pro Tools is doom. I'm telling you right now. And we'll be right back. So the moral of my story is Rupert Neve saved music in the 50s, 60s, and 70s. Pro Tools came along in the 80s, late 80s, 90s, and ruined music because they don't know how to save the transient along the way of the workflow. Pro Tools is like wrapping your sound in moldy cardboard instead of gold linen. Rupert Neve, 50s, 60s, 70s, gold linen. Tape, vinyl, gold linen. 80s, 90s, 2000s, Pro Tools. Cardboard mold. Flappy, slappy, duct tape, plastic spoons, and twiddly sticks. That's what Pro Tools is. What happened, man? What happened to the good music? The good music by the Guess Who? These eyes cry every night for you. What happened to that music, man? What happened to the good music? Pro Tools killed it. Nobody gives a damn about music. What happened to the good producers? Jack Richardson, Ben McPeek, and Bob Ezrin. What happened to them? Well, I happen to know that Bob Ezrin is still kicking ass. He's kicking ass. He just made a new record with Alice Cooper. Do you know who that is? Does anybody know what good music is anymore? I hope so. Good music is about protecting that transient, and we figured out a way to not use Pro Tools ever again. PCM, get it out of here. MP3, get it out of here. Wave, get it out of here. Recording, get it out of here. Mixing, get it out of here. Mastering, get it out of here. Do nothing. Yeah, that's the way to do it. You get your money for nothing and your chicks for free. This has been a Joseph Earl McPeek, Esquire the Third production.